Okay, this is what I would call a for real question. Okay, I oftentimes, many of you know this already. I like to put my cell number right here at the bottom of the screen. It's my personal cell number, and I share that because I honestly want you to reach out. If you've got any issues, any questions, any problems, if you just need some motivation or prayers, I really do want you to reach out to me. Let me be a part of your life. That is the gift that I've been offered, is that I'm able to be a part of others' lives and to help them through their transplant journeys, or for that matter, I hope, through the entire journey of life. And so I had a person last night, it was pretty late, who texted me and asked me a question that at the time, honestly, it blew my mind to the point that I kind of laid in the bed for a while because I couldn't really come down to an answer for the question. And so after kind of flopping and tossing and turning throughout the night and then waking up this morning feeling a little bit more inspired to answer the question, I thought I'd just sit down right here and answer the question, because I know I'm not only talking to that person, which I've already messaged them back, but maybe I'm talking to you, because I think all of us, to an extent, have probably been where maybe they are. And all of us, to an extent, I know I have been in a place in life where we're kind of low and where we're kind of struggling and we need some help. And maybe the advice that I can give, I don't know, that I can give in this instance may just be that help that maybe you need. It's certainly what I've needed in the past. So I've kind of got the question. I went ahead and jotted it down on a sticky note along with a few of my answers, if you will. I don't usually use a cheat sheet, but I've got one today. But here's the question they ask. I'll read exactly what they said. They said, Jim, how do you have a positive and grateful mindset when you are at your lowest? Like I say, that was a tough question for me. And if I were to answer that 100% totally honestly, the truth is I don't. Okay. The real truth is I don't always keep a positive mindset. I'm not always grateful for the gifts that I've been given, even transplant. The truth is I oftentimes fall short probably of what people perceive that I am. You know, one of the blessings I've got with making these videos is that I get to sit down in front of the camera whenever I want to. And what that means is if I can sit down whenever I want to, I can also turn the camera off whenever I don't want to. I don't have to show you a weaker side. I don't have to show you a lesser of a positive side. I don't have to show you my bad days. But sometimes I choose to do that. And so when you ask me how I have a positive and grateful mindset when I'm at my lowest, the truth is when I'm at my lowest, I generally don't. But there are a few things that I have been somewhat successful personally in doing for myself, just kind of tweaks to my mindset, my attitude that I think have helped me on those lowest days. As a matter of fact, very few of you know this, but if you go way back, this would be about right at 9 years ago when I first started the program that would become the Transplant Helper. That was called Your Daily Dose. I don't encourage you to watch those. They're kind of embarrassing. But if you go back to my daily dose, all of those, every one of those, there's over 100 of those, were generally shot inside of a hospital room when I was at my lowest. And I think one of the catch lines I used in that is trying to help people during their darkest days. Okay. So I'm not saying I was good at that. I'm just saying that I tried to do that, and I'm still trying to do that. So here we go. I'll give you six. Okay. I came up with six pretty quickly this morning. I'll give you six. So here's the very first one. And again, this answers that question. How do you have a positive and grateful attitude when your mind's at your lowest, or when you're at your lowest? So number one, if I had to give you a suggestion, I would say number one, celebrate the small wins. Okay. Too many times in my transplant journey, I have set the bar too high. I've tried to accomplish too much. I've tried to look for those gigantic and enormous victories and trying to get to a place that realistically I wasn't prepared to be. And so I have learned over time, the hard way, but I have learned over time to try to celebrate the small victories. Let me give you an example of that. I won't tell the whole story, but before transplant, prior to transplant, so this has been 9, 10, 11, 12 years ago, anytime I bent over to pick something up off the floor, to tie my shoes, whatever, if I ever tried to bend over past a certain point, I would either nearly pass out or pass out. My eyes would go black. I would get nauseated. it would knock me in the dirt or for a loop, and I would have to go sit down to try to recover from that. And that's just from bending over. That's not from trying to run a marathon or ride a bike. That's just from bending over. I would have that issue. After transplant, I think this maybe was a week or two out of transplant. I can't recall right now, but after transplant, I was laying in my bed, and I was being required to get up every few hours and go out for a walk. And I enjoyed doing that. I was very blessed that I was able to do that after transplant. But I had a pair of shoes laying beside my bed, kind of an old pair of raggedy house shoes. But those shoes, at some point when a nurse had come in, apparently she had bumped those and knocked them up under my bed. So I went to get out of bed to go walk, and of course I wanted to put on my shoes before I went out in the hallway, and I look down and the shoes are gone. And so I go ahead and get out of bed, and I back up and I look around. I'm trying to find my shoes, and I look, my shoes are underneath the bed. They, like I say, apparently been kicked. And without even thinking about it, I bent over and I grabbed my shoes and I raised back up. And that's when that moment flew over me. That's when it hit me. Wow, Jim, you didn't pass out. You didn't get dizzy. You didn't get lightheaded. Your eyes didn't go black. You don't need to go sit down. And I knew then that I had some sort of a win in my life. And it was a small one, okay? Big to me, but it would have seemed small to everybody else. Big whoop, you can pick up your own shoes. But for me, that was a moment when I learned to celebrate the small wins. So that's the first thing I would say. When you're at your lowest point, celebrate your small wins. Number two, I would add to that, just remember, this is temporary. Whatever you're going through. One of the things that I have had to learn the hard way in life is that we cannot always be one way. You can't always be happy. You can't always be sad. You can't always be up. You can't always be down. You can't always be anxious. You can't always be relaxed. Pretty much every part of our lives is about shifting and changing. It's about going through periods and coming out of those periods. Things are temporary, and that's positive, that's negative, but whatever. But just remember this season that you're dealing with. If you're at your lowest, or you think you're at one of your lowest times, it's only temporary. And just tell yourself, I can deal with this for a period of time. Even though you may not know how long that period really might be, but you can deal with this for a period of time. And I've even said before, I can deal with anything if I can see an end. Okay? I can go through anything in this life or any life if I can only see an end. Okay? So tell yourself that. That's probably one thing I'd do. Number three, you need to focus on what is most important. Okay? Focus on what is most important. What is most important? I'll continue to use the example of accomplishments in exercise or ability or stamina after transplant, for me at least. It was not important to me that I run a marathon. It was not important to me that I climb Mount Everest. It was not important to me that I was able to do any of that. What was important to me in the moment, and I'm glad I'm past this now, but what was important then was I was breathing. I was awake. I wasn't sleeping 16, 18 hours a day. I wasn't struggling to eat a meal, to feed myself, to take a shower. I wasn't struggling to deal with daily tasks anymore. And that's what was most important. And so sometimes when you're at your lowest, you've got to find what's most important in life. And what's most important is that you are alive. What's most important is that sometimes you've got other people to worry about. I can remember walking the hallways at UAB. And I did this every time, not to bring myself down, but to lift myself up. I would walk the hallways in CICU, UAB Hospital, HTICU, technically, heart transplant intensive care, mostly. But I would walk those halls, and I would look in the doors. If the doors were open or if the curtain was pulled on the window, I would look in the doors. And I would see people there who were at worser places. And yes, I said worser. I'm from Alabama. We do what we want to do here. But I said I would see people in worser places than I was, and I would say, Jim, you got it made. What's most important right now is that even though I may have been struggling to walk those hallways, I wasn't struggling for life. I wasn't struggling to be a part of life. I wasn't fighting to stay on this earth. And so focus on what's most important. Number four, I would say, and I've jotted these down a little bit. I would say change what you can, but let go of what you can't. There are a lot of situations in life that I like to control. I want to control. I want to know what's next. I want to create what's next sometimes. And the truth is, we just can't. There are some things that are out of your control. There are some things that you cannot affect. There are some things that you cannot change. And the things that you can't change, you just have to let go. I would honestly tell you, and this is what I've done, and I would hope that you are able to do, as the saying goes, you need to let go and let God. Because God has some charge. God has control over these situations. God has some power within this. And He uses that, and He exercises that. And you've got to let go of the things that you cannot change and just let them go. Just let them go, and then you take care of what you can. Even if it's something small. You control what you can, and you let go of what you can't. And this one I put at number 5. Watch this trick. Watch this trick right here. Number 5, take 5 minutes out of your day to do what you want to do. I don't care how busy you are, or how concerned you are, or how low you are, or how many challenges you've got. You take 5 minutes out of every single day and you do something for you. Somebody says, well, I don't have the time. I mean, right now, post-transplant, this is a blessing, folks. It's a blessing. Post-transplant, I am on the go 24/7. I'm not always able to be, but I push and I drive and I push to try to, keep up here around the house and to take care of the children and to get everybody to school and back and, to help everybody. I try to be there for everybody. I sit down and make these videos every day, or every day that I can. And I try really hard to make those videos something that's beneficial, something that matters to you. But sometimes when I'm doing that, I'm not doing anything for me. And so someone says, well, I don't have time for me. If you don't listen to this closely. I've got my ears perked. See, I got big ears. I can perk them. If you don't have 5 minutes every day to do something for you, you don't have a life. Everybody wants to have a life, quote, a life. Everybody wants to find some kind of joy in life. If you don't have 5 minutes a day, or maybe 10, I would say 5 would be a minimum. If you don't have 5 minutes a day to do something for you, then you don't have a life. So I would kindly and lovingly probably say, you need to get a life. Get a 5-minute life if you have to, but get a life and do something for you. Number 6, give yourself a pat on the back. I don't care who you are, where you are, how much you're struggling, how low you might be right now. There's something that you are really, really good at doing. For me, laying in the hospital bed, I was really good at turning that remote control and taking a nap. Give yourself a pat on the back. You're doing a good job at something. You're doing something very, very well that no one else in your shoes could do. I don't know exactly what that might be, but find a reason to tell yourself you are good. You are valuable. When I was living life pre-transplant, and some of you, maybe you're feeling this way. Maybe you are. Maybe you've been there, done that. When I was living life pre-transplant, I was struggling so much to be able to go and to do and have the ability and the stamina and the energy to do what I needed to do in life. It was very easy for me to kind of slip in that dark place where I didn't feel valuable anymore, where I didn't feel like I could do anything, where I didn't feel I was worth anything. I didn't feel like I was contributing to my family or my friends or my work or what. I just didn't feel like I was doing what I needed to do. You're doing something. You may not be doing all you want to do, but you're doing what you do want to do and trying to do something that you want to do. Give yourself a pat on the back. You are good. I'll pat you on the back. How can I do that? Right there? Is that your back? You are great. You're doing something great, and you keep doing it. So that's my answer. Maybe that's not the right answer, but what do you do to have a positive and grateful mindset or attitude when you're at your lowest? That's what I've come up with. There are probably 50 more, but that's the ones that kind of I focus on today. I hope this has helped you out in some way. If it has, a thumbs up to this video will be great. Consider subscribing, maybe hitting the bell. And more than that, I want you to share. Comment below this video. Have you had low times in life? You're a transplant patient. I already know you have. But have you had low times in your life? Can you share some of those? Can you try to make us feel better by how bad you are? I don't know if that's the approach, but what do you do to keep motivated? What do you do to keep positive thinking in your front of your mind? What do you keep to have a good attitude? How do you push through? I'd love to hear that in the comments, not just for me, because there'll be plenty of people down here wanting to share along with you, and they're definitely going to want to hear your advice. Until next time, stay stronger, friends.